In Germany today, as you know, perhaps, I think you're aware of that, Germany is a country with an aging population. That means just in a couple of years, when the baby boomers, who are the baby boomers? The baby boomers are the people who were born right after World War II, just like in the United States or Germany and all across the developed countries. As soon as the war ended, people who fought for the freedom against fascism returned home, and there was a sort of a baby boom in those days. And very many people, there was a demographic explosion. There were many children born, and they laid the foundation for the future economic growth, for the labor productivity. They supplied the markets with more and more labor. And now these people, as you understand, they already retired. Many of them retired. And the people who follow them are going to retire very, very soon. That means the government will have to spend more money for pensions. It will have to create more pension funds in order to supply these people with money to just sustain them during their retirement. And people in Europe, they live for longer years than, for example, in Russia. On average, they may live 20 to 25 years after they retire. That means you will have to collect more taxes. In order to collect more taxes, you need either more enterprises or you got to increase taxes, which is very, very unfortunate thing for many companies in Germany or in Europe, in the United States. They are very opposing this issue. Donald Trump, when he became president, he decided to slash taxes. He slashed VAT, value-added tax, he slashed corporate tax, and people, individuals, entrepreneurs, enterprises, they were quite happy about that. But today, Joe Biden, as president, discusses in Congress to introduce more taxes. They would like to increase taxes. They also try to implement a global average tax for enterprises and corporate profits. Why do they do this? Why do they need this? Just imagine that in the United States, if I'm not mistaken, Joe Biden proposes a 22 or 25% corporate tax. In Ireland, in the small country of Ireland in Northern Europe, corporate tax is 12.5%. In Russia, corporate tax, if I'm not mistaken, it's 20%. VAT in Russia is 19 or 18%, if I'm not again mistaken. You will actually may look it up, and I think it's somewhere in these terms, 18 or 19%. Well, Joe Biden proposes that they got to introduce a sort of an average corporate tax for the global companies, for international companies doing business in many countries in this world. So why do they do this? Why do they need this? In order for them to pay taxes in the country where they do business, and also so that they do not use those countries with lower tax levels as tax havens, because they usually place their businesses and subsidiaries in countries with lower taxes. That means Apple goes to, I don't know, to the island or to China, where labor costs are cheaper, lower, and corporate tax is lower, and they pay lower taxes, they do business there, they pay less money to workers, to the labor force, so they just save money. This is the cost-saving operation. This is a traditional, very sensible way of doing business. So the question is, where are you going to take money if you increase taxes? Well, yeah, actually you may get more money to pay for those greener projects in Germany if you raise taxes, but it is also possible that companies will leave these countries for other countries with lower taxes, or they will just take profits and go somewhere across the border and invest this money in other countries. In Switzerland, Germans are usually doing that. Very many entrepreneurs. I read an article in a magazine, in the Handelsblatt magazine, German magazine, and they say that each year people in Germany export 100 billion euros across the border. They transfer $100 billion. This is money laundering operation. They evade taxes because taxes in Germany are very, very high. And also the new government, SPD candidate for chancellor, Olaf Scholz, I think you already know, I think you've already heard this name, Olaf Scholz. Perhaps he's going to be the next chancellor instead of Angela Merkel. Perhaps, if he is quite successful during the elections on September the 26th. So we got to wait a couple of weeks, right? We got to wait a couple of weeks to see for the elections. I think this is going to be a huge and dramatic change in Germany, in German politics. So what does he offer? What does he want? He wants to introduce property tax. In Germany today, there is no property tax. And they're quite happy about that, of course. They do not have to pay so much money. Unlike in Russia, we got to pay. In Russia, it is, for the truth to be told, actually this is not a very high tax, but still people got to pay annually a certain amount of money. Each and every one of people, homeowners receive the sheets with tax bills to pay to the government, to the local government, to the federal budget. So where do you get more people if people die in Germany? I mean, the number of people being born and the number of people being dying each year is not so much, yeah? So more people die in Germany than are being born. That means they need more and more people. An economist named Hans Werner Sinn said that you need 500,000 people annually as immigrants in Germany in order to supply the labor force, so that taxes continue to being paid and the budget continues to survive. That means you got 500,000 people annually going from abroad as immigrants, so that you sustain this economy, so that it gets working. And as you also know, Germany and Germans, the political elite, the parties, they oppose more immigrants coming into the country. People are getting more aggressive when more and more immigrants coming into any country. I think that was part of the reason why Britain exited the EU, because they were afraid for their culture, for their language, because too many people came to this country as immigrants. Although this immigration flow benefits economies, you receive cheaper labor, you may employ it, you do not have to pay high salary for these people. They are quite content with lower packages and lower social packages. Of course, as time goes by, these people get more educated, more skilled, and they demand higher rewards, higher wages. But this is only after they get naturalized, when they're real citizens, and it takes decades. In Switzerland, it takes almost 15 years to get neutralized, almost. As far as I know, in order to become a citizen of this country, each person will have to vote on your candidacy as a Swiss citizen, so that you become a citizen of this country. This is a very difficult procedure because this is a very small country, and they are very, very eager to hold their culture, their language. They're very afraid of that. So, what do we have to do then? Where do they take all those people and taxes?
I think it all starts with the EU policy, like what they do, what they produce in the end, because as we know, Germany is the main country in the immigrants.
They're going to have shortages in many other industries because they need electricity and they need heat. This country is a very structured economy. You cannot just switch one enterprise off the line so that other people and other enterprises be happy about that. So I don't think that this economy can afford this kind of a situation to prolong. They need it badly. In Germany, they need I don't think that they would like to build this Nord Stream 2 in the first place if they were not sure that they needed it badly. They almost got rid of, they gave up nuclear power. It's only the matter of, this is the question of time. They are almost out of the nuclear power. They almost completely exited this market. Also, 46% of electricity is generated via renewable energy, via renewable resources. 46% of all electricity produced in Germany is done through the means of renewable energy supplies. Also, the problem is that each 10 to 11 minutes, they have these periods when wind turbines or solar power batteries do not work. And they have these 10 to 11 minutes of delays in the electricity supplies. So they cannot get rid of other energy resources and energy generating facilities, and especially gas facilities, because they again produce electricity. They also produce electricity, as you know, from coal, but coal is also going to be out of use by 2030. They are going to decarbonize their economy completely by 2050. So this is also the question of time. What remains today is they I'm absolutely sure that they need this gas, and as soon as the new government is elected, they will have to take this decision. Like you said, Germany and people, many companies in this country, invested billions of euros into the project, so they would like to have their money back. This project, like I told you last time during the previous lecture, I told you that the very specific issue and the very specific feature of international project finance deals is that at the start, when the project is going on and many investors, many people, sponsors, governments, local enterprises, local governments invest money and are guarantors to this project, this company, this project company, does not receive any profit for the period until it is put into operation. Only after it is put into operation and off-takers take or purchase the products this facility supplies, and in this particular case this is natural gas. So until this gas is supplied to Germany, they do not receive any money back. That means this project is a sort of a frozen field which they cannot exploit to the very use, to the very purpose of this particular project. So the difficulty now in Germany, first of all, that Merkel surely does not want to take this decision because she is living. And I think that she understands that the policy in this country is going to change, maybe not completely 180 degrees. Maybe there won't be such a turn. I don't think that AfD, this alternative party of Germany, is going to win the elections. I don't think so. But they will have to build, this is certainly, they will have to build coalition governments. It's going to be either Merkel's party, the Christian Democrats, plus Free Democrats, Liberal Democrats, plus maybe the Greens, and also it can be Communists, the Reds, it can be Social Democrats, so that means red plus green also. This is also a possible coalition government, and they will have to decide this particular issue. This project is very, very dependent upon the decisions taken by the next government, and I think it will take several months for this decision to be taken, because to create a coalition government also takes time. Usually these governments, especially in a situation like this, are created during a very prolonged period of time. So they will have to wait, and we will have to wait, especially we, the people living in Russia, and the Russian companies, Gazprom, will have to wait. And the price of gas maybe is going to... This is the major factor for the global gas market today in terms of gas supplies and the price of gas for the European Union. This factor is going to drive the price higher and higher. Maybe it's not the last time we've heard this news that the gas price is rallying, going to be higher and higher. During the Assessing these projects, these kinds of projects like we're talking about, Nord Stream 2 is an international finance deal. This is one of the examples of an international finance deals. This is a European project, plus this is also a Russian project. This is a project of Germany and Russia in the third place, because both these countries were mostly interested in building this pipeline. When they already built a gas pipeline, as you know, as you remember, in 2010, President Medvedev and Angela Merkel, they put into operation Nord Stream 1. And a couple of years later, they understood that the supplies of gas is not enough. And they started building a new pipeline. They found investors and sponsors. The government supported this project, both governments. The government of Germany and Russia, they started constructing this pipeline. But the problem was that other countries in the European Union opposed this project. Poland opposed this project very harshly. Denmark also. So there were countries he tried to disrupt, to delay this project. And we also know from the news that in the recent months, these countries tried very seriously and harshly to oppose the continuation of the construction of this pipeline. So it's a miracle that Nord Stream 2 is completed. This pipeline is finished. It is ready to supply gas. The only thing is he is going to take responsibility to put it into operation. Only after that we will be able to talk about some kind of a profit that will be received after off-takers will pay for the gas that is supplied via Nord Stream 2. You see here that there are several measures, several coefficients we use generally to calculate the value of a project such as Nord Stream 2. One of the major coefficients or measures, and I think you're acquainted with it, is WACC, which is weighted average cost of capital. This is one of the major things to measure when you are dealing with a project such as these. You got to take into account assets in place, share capital, existing debt. You compare these things. Also, you will have, maybe sometimes you need new capital. That means you got to issue more debt, more obligations, more bonds. Government will have to support it. In this particular example with Nord Stream 2, the government guarantees usually projects such as these so that it does not go bankrupt. And this is a matter of several enterprises, because if you leave this project to itself, many companies in Germany and Russia may go bankrupt. And it may precipitate a new crisis, a new economic and financial crisis in both countries. Because it is very clear that when one company does not pay its debts to other institutions, the institutions may also go bankrupt, and it's going to be a chain reaction. Each company and each financial or credit institution infecting the other institution, just like it's going to be the economic pandemics. Each and every other enterprise connected via debts and loans to the companies in this chain and the organization in this chain will infect each other, get cold, so to speak, or they will have to get vaccinated. The government will have to either step in or find some other ways to rule out the situation. And this is going to be a very difficult question, because it again means unemployment, it means financial difficulties for companies, for banks, for the governments. They will have to deal with these problems. So as for me, I think it is better to put into operation this Nord Stream 2 project. For Germany, it is better this way, both for Germany and Russia. And I think that for Germany, it is much more stringent, it is much more acute problem. It is much more acute problem than for Russia. Because in Russia, well, we have our gas and we have our companies, and they have other countries they supply gas to. But for Germany, in this particular example, due to the fact that they invested so much capital into Nord Stream 2, I think they're going to suffer much more than Russian companies, in particular Gazprom. So you will have also to measure things such as return on E project in SPV. SPV, like we understood from last time, it's a company responsible for the project. So just like in case of Nord Stream 2, there was an SPV that was created, that was established, and this SPV had an obligation to find resources, find off-takers. Its duty was to attract much capital, many people, sponsors, government enterprises, money institutions and credit institutions. So this project, it started this way. SPV is a special purpose vehicle, usually placed and located in a tax haven, a country such as Luxembourg or Switzerland, because of lower taxes. They usually create, this is an international practice, and there is nothing shameful about placing an SPV in Luxembourg or Switzerland, because, well, they have to optimize taxation. They have to always keep in mind that there is this WACC, and if it goes above a certain level, they will be sure that they may go bankrupt, and they will not have enough money and not enough loans to sustain. They will have no money to pay to people who are constructing this pipeline. That was the difficulty. They had to pay those people, they had to do many things. There are many aspects of this international financial deal. Behind it, there is a whole history of negotiations. It was a very interesting project in terms of both company opportunities, profit opportunities. It was an opportunity for Europe become greener. Natural gas is a very good natural resource, because energy generation and electricity generation from natural gas does not emit so much CO2, unlike electricity generated from coal. And Germany is the country who historically and traditionally was very dependent on coal. Until very recently, when renewable energy started to become more and more important in this country. You got to keep in mind that there are always technological risks involved in dealing with these international financial projects. Technology being implemented costs money. Technology implemented means you may increase labor productivity. If you are successful in doing this, if your workers, if people employed you work on this project can do that using less resources due to the fact that they are more skilled, due to the fact that they use a more efficient technology, more efficient tools, maybe even algorithms and machine learning tools, artificial intelligence, sometimes robots. So that means they may optimize the cost structure of the international financial project in this particular example, and that would be very, very useful for the companies involved and for the companies in question. You will have also to find credible customers so that they do not in the end give up purchasing the product you produce. The product they're going to produce is energy, and off-takers in this particular example, off-takers means buyers, people or customers who in the end are going to make use of this natural gas. It's going to be supplied to your homes, it's going to heat your homes, it's going to generate more electricity in this country, and everyone will be happy after that. You will be able to decrease the use of oil in particular, because oil produces too much CO2. It's a carbon-intensive fuel. It is very it affects negatively on the environment, and I think that they in Germany are very interested in putting more effort into creating, into developing new technologies that would be quite sure to reduce the amount of resources being used. And energy-intensive resources, carbon-intensive resources such as oil in particular. After diesel scandal in Germany, I think they're very, very aware of the costs that always follow such projects. You know that diesel scandal was an issue at Volkswagen company a couple of years ago. They used a special technique in their cars, an electronic technique, an electronic tool that allowed to actually reduce the level of CO2 via a special treatment. When it is checked, it just could not register the real amount of CO2 being emitted by a car. And there were, I think, 11 million cars produced with this particular electronic system, this electronic tool. But somehow, anyone, there was a person or an organization who inspected this issue, and maybe there were people behind this company, in this company, who just spied on it, or they sold this corporate secret to other. That was maybe an industrial espionage activity on part of some other company. So that they just filed a lawsuit against it, and there was this famous diesel scandal. I think you know that from the news about the diesel scandal in Germany. Volkswagen already lost 32 billion euros due to this scandal. They had to return all those cars produced with these, especially this special electronic vehicle, this special electronic tool, now they had to pay fines, very large fines, big fines. So they had very many difficulties in dealing with this diesel scandal. The president, the CEO of this company, Herbert Winterkorn, is under arrest today and is under medical treatment also. But the court in Düsseldorf, if I'm not mistaken, decided to hold this judicial procedure in court in absentia of Mr. Winterkorn. He is going to be put under surgical operation very recently. He has problems with his legs, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's just an excuse for him to not participate in this trial. So they would like to find more and more excuses for them to be expelled from that particular court procedure. But still, in the end, that was a very huge issue, and I think each and every company, especially car makers in many countries, got to understand and got to take into account that any machinations with data or CO2 emissions would lead to kind of a problem that is really dramatic, that is going to dramatically affect this company, in particular Volkswagen. Volkswagen is the biggest car producer in Europe, and it is one of the largest car manufacturers in the world, apart from Toyota and other very great companies, car producers. Here are actually going to be sponsors in international project finance deals. They include a number of organizations. Usually this is industrial sponsors who would like to participate with industrial sort of capital. They supply industrial tools, machine tools, in order to put into operation that particular facility. This is also a very important issue, so that they can use that very important manufacturing technology. We live in times of industrial revolution, of a new industrial revolution that's going. I think this is going to be a green revolution. So it's a very interesting issue that just, I think as far as 2016, people were so eager and so enthusiastic about Schwab's idea. Schwab is an economist behind the idea of the World Economic Forum, and he actually was the person. He was behind that coin that we all now today know as Industrial Revolution 4.0, the fourth Industrial Revolution. That was Klaus Schwab's idea and concept, which he presented at one of the World Economic Forums in Davos. And people started writing articles about Industrial Revolution. They started talking about new technologies that can be used in order to power that sort of industrial revolution. One of the techniques was 3D printing, and I think you are aware of the technique that is being used today to produce goods in particular. People produce anything from cars to shoes or trainers in many countries. Although I think it was Nike company who said that you cannot produce trainers via 3D technology because each and every pair of shoes is going to be the same, and then you will have no diversity in the production, in this line of production facilities.
But they try to recycle metals for their shoes, no?
Well, they try to do this, but still this 3D printing does not allow you a great diversity. So you will have to keep to a very narrow marketing mix in this particular example. And they even say at Nike company, at least, maybe not at other companies, but Nike says that it makes almost stupid, makes no sense to use this technology in order, because we will have not be able to supply as many variants, as many variations of these shoes to our clients in the United States, because there are people who would like to have special treatment, special shoes, and it is very difficult to customize 3D printed trainers in the end. So this technology may not work in the end. We do not know, of course. Maybe they will develop new 3D printers that will be more efficient, more effective, more productive, that will allow more diversity. But today, usually, it is very, very difficult. And what I wanted to say about the Industrial Revolution is that it is almost 5 years since they started talking about that. They are actually almost forgotten about this Industrial Revolution 4.0 as soon as COVID-19 started, and as soon as talks started going into the direction of green revolution, into infrastructure investment, into environmentally friendly enterprises. They are obsessed today with decarbonization, so that this kind of industrial revolution, the idea of it, somehow evaporated from our minds today. We rarely talk about. I think if you just look through a magazine, an economic or financial magazine, you will hardly find Industry 4.0 in today's magazines and today's particular journals. I myself found that concept a year ago in the German magazine called Handelsblatt, and they said a couple of words about Industrial Revolution 4.0 in terms of more machine tools, more efficient machine tools, their plants and things such as these. But I think that this concept, this whole idea of Industrial Revolution 4.0 is dead by now, because it is replaced by the new obsession, which is called decarbonization. And the new revolution is going to be called, I think, that kind of revolution. Green revolution or decarbonization revolution or something of the sort. It's going to be connected with more environmentally friendly enterprises being built and more environmentally friendly technologies being used by these enterprises. In the next few slides, we're going to see the structure of the special purpose vehicle that is being used to create, to accomplish, to establish a project and construct a facility, Nord Stream 2 project, for example. Usually this is done by a structure such as this. This is a special purpose vehicle structure. At the center of each and every structure that we're going to see is taken by the special purpose vehicle company. It is at the very core of the whole universe that involves many people, from shareholders and contractors and all the way to lenders and off-takers. They deal via contracts. So in order to be able to construct, in order to be able to establish a special purpose vehicle company, you will have to conclude agreements and contracts with all these participants. The legal basis of dealing in international financial projects takes a very important place, and it takes a very important role. It is a very cost effective activity. Legal issues in this particular example consume lots of money. Sometimes it is millions and sometimes even maybe tens of millions of dollars for legal support, because they they are responsible for concluding contracts, for working out contracts, the conditions of these contracts. And also, if some of the parties, like shareholders or lenders, have some quarrels or commercial difficulties, commercial differences, they go to court. And in order to go to court, you got to have a sort of a legal basis so that once in court you are able to produce documents saying that you are involved in this particular special purpose vehicle company. You are one of the parties and you got some legal rights, some legal obligations under those contracts. So this is a very important issue when we are dealing with an international project finance deals and these contracts. This is a bit different structure. Actually, it is almost the same kind of structure, because once again at the center of it we see an SPV, which is a special purpose vehicle company. This is again the company responsible for the organization of the whole process. Maybe it is just a better representation in terms of a circle that is a sort of a cloud. As a sort of a cloud, just like in cloud computing, when everything and everyone is somewhere there, using distant techniques to access specific databases. And this particular issue can be, this particular example and case can be reproduced and projected on an SPV in this particular example. So you got to have experts and professionals of all sorts, because they consult you in different issues. They take you to understand that there are some things which are very important to consider. You got to have to find operators. You got to find suppliers of resources. Also, he's going to purchase your product. The very important part in the structure of an SPV is taken by, again, lenders and sponsors, because they bring in money. And money is a capital that is going to be used to pay for the project. It's going to be used to pay for wages for the companies, two companies that are going to construct this particular facility. Also, you got to find insurers, because we live in uncertain times when anything and everything may happen. Insurers insure companies from, I don't know, climate change, for instance, because this project may be destroyed by natural forces, by acts of God, and this is also a legal issue that is usually stipulated and stressed in a contract. Acts of God take a certain place in the contract, well, insurance companies are very busy in this particular example. You got to be also very careful with that sort of issue, because today insurance companies are going to increase premium payments because of, again, climate change and natural disasters. Natural catastrophe today is one of the very serious issues in each international project finance deals. The example we're dealing with, Nord Stream 2 project, is being done in the Baltic Sea. And the Baltic Sea is a place where everything and anything can happen, including floods and storms and things such as these. So these facilities may get destroyed, people may get killed, ships may be sank. So that means insurance companies will have to deal with this economic and financial damage, social damage also, damage to people's health. So life insurance comes into place. Insurance companies are a very important subject in that particular example. Parties and roles in the SPV usually this is just a list of those parties that we already have seen on the charts, on the figures before, in the circled figure and in a structured figure that we've seen a couple of slides ago. So this is just the list of parties and their roles in an SPV. Maybe just what I would like to add, maybe, or elaborate a bit further in this particular example, the organizations and parties that were not used in the previous schemes and figures would include things such as facility agents, technical banks, multilateral and export credit agencies, and maybe host governments. So what is a technical bank actually? Technical banks usually do supply technical help, technical assistance. They are very qualified organizations to deal with specific contracts and specific money issues and investment opportunities. They help provide information about government contracts, about investment opportunities in other countries. They may help find some sponsors, and also they may help optimize the capital structure. They have people responsible for analyzing the cost of capital because you always issue some bonds or some debt when you are part of this sort of company and international project deal. You got to find people who are dealing with these issues, and it is always a very good thing when you take part in that sort of cooperation. So they provide help, technical assistance, and they cooperate with an SPV so that your contract, so that your project gets sustained. Facility agent. Facility agents have also a very close relationship with an SPV because they this word facilitate is also a sort of a help. They again assist in finding new parties. So they are sort of an intermediary between an SPV and those parties you're going to involve. So they are a sort of a recruiter in the network of an SPV environment, in this ecosystem. He find the necessary people, the people and the organization you're going to require, and that are going to be most skillful and most qualified companies, most qualified subjects. Multilateral and export credit agencies. I think this is also an organization that was not mentioned in the previous figures and slides. What is it? A multilateral credit agency is an international financial organization, usually a regional bank or a global bank. Multilateral financial institutions such as the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, or the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. This is going to be a regional or a financial organization. Asian Development Bank, BRICS Development Bank, New Development Bank also, which is called New Development Bank, the BRICS Bank. There is also an African Development Bank, Eurasian Development Bank, and many other regional associations, banking associations that provide capital to, that may provide capital and assistance, financial assistance to these SPV projects. They are they're a very important supplier of capital in countries, in the regions they're dealing with. They are very helpful in this particular issue. Also, because due to the reason that they are multilateral organizations and they have facilities, they have operations in various countries and regions, they have an opportunity to provide capital at lower costs. That means you do not have to pay very high interest rates for the loans you receive. It allows them to get more money, to get more capital without too much cost. Again, we return to WACC because this is the measure of the cost of capital you involve and you employ in your project. Well, I think it pretty sums up this particular question. We're also going to deal very specifically and very in detail what's going to happen with the international expertise in financing a project, because we got to know who has that specific expertise. He is very proficient in this particular field. he is going to become a sort of a party, so that we have an organization that's going to help us create an SPV and try to deal with a project that we keep in mind, because we are certainly we are specialists in this particular field, but still we need help and technical assistance of the people who are specialized in particular fields, in law, in manufacturing facilities, in construction, people who know something about the greener technologies and other ecosystems that are going to be used in this particular case, this particular example. So I think we're going to deal with that just in a couple of minutes, as soon as we are back from this